Welcome to our presentation. We are $6 billion, starting with Chapter 5, which is Consumer Markets and Buyer Behavior. Let's take a look at our outline. We have four main parts. The first one is models of consumer behavior. The second one is characteristics affecting consumer behavior. The third is buying decision behavior and the buyer decision process. The last one is the buyer decision process for new products. First, I will talk about consumer buyer behavior and consumer market. Consumer buyer behavior is the buying behavior of final consumers, which is individual or household, that buy goods and services for personal consumption. Second, consumer market that own the individual and household buy or acquire goods and services for personal consumption.
So with that knowledge, we can begin with the model of consumer behavior. Most job companies research consumer buying decisions in great detail to answer questions about what consumers buy, where they buy, how and how much they buy, when they buy, and why they buy. But learning about why behind consumer buying behavior is not so easy. The answers are often locked deep within the consumer's mind.
This is why marketers want to know how stimuli are changed in customer response inside the buyer's black box, which has two parts. First, the buyer's characteristics influence how he or she perceives and reacts to the stimuli. Second, the buyer's decision process itself affects his or her behavior. Let's move to the second objective, that is characteristics affect consumer behavior. There are four main factors, including cultural, social, personal, and economic factors. The first factor is cultural, that marketers need to understand the role played by the buyer's culture, subculture, and social class. And culture is set of basic values, perceptions, wants, and behaviors learned by a member of society, from family and other important institutions. And marketers are always trying to spark cultural shift so as to discover new products that may be wanted. And subculture that refers groups of people with shared value systems based on common life experience and situation, including nationalities, religions, racial groups, and geographic regions. This is examples of subculture. The first one for Hispanic American consumer. The Toyota award-winning mass-scale auto. This generation is more than a car, and that campaign created a strong emotional connection between Hispanic and their Toyota. With free, official-looking, personalized nameplate for them but love cars, he is Pepe. The second one for Asian American consumer, that Bloomingdale celebrates the important Chinese New Year with carefully targeted ads and promotions, and even special seasonal pop-up boutiques in its store featuring Chinese-themed merchandise, events and entertainment. Social class is the last one of cultural factors. It is society's relatively permanent and other divisions whose members share similar values, interests, and behaviors. Social class is not determined by a single factor, such as income, but is measured as a combination of occupations, income, education, wealth, and other variables. And marketers are interested in social class because people within a given social class tend to exhibit similar buying behavior. The second factor is social, that a consumer's behavior is influenced by social factors, such as the consumer's small groups, social network, family, and social roles and status. The first part in social factor is group. It's each or more people who interact to accomplish individual or mutual goals. Then social network include word of mouth influence, opinion leader, online social network. Moreover, moreover, over the past few years, an online social network has been an online community where people socialize or exchange information and opinions. Therefore, brands try to advertise through social network or influential bloggers to reach customers as quickly as possible. For example, companies such as P&G, McDonald's, Walmart, and Disney work closely with influential moms bloggers or social media moms, turning them into brand advocates. The third one is family, that members can influence each other's buying behavior and marketers are interested in their internal role. In addition, children have a strong influence on family decisions. The final one is role status. Let's consider the various roles a working mother plays. First, in her company, she may play the role of a brand manager. In her family, she plays the role of wife and mother. At her favorite sporting event, she plays the role of avid fan. As a brand manager, she will buy a kind of clothing that reflects her role and status in her company. And the final at the game, she may wear the clothing supporting her favorite team.
And the third one would be the personal factor. One here we will talk about the age, the life stage, the economic situation when people expect more or be pay less. So more the brand have to introduce more the segmented product. And Apple did the same thing as they provide the customer with the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro with the different size and the storage spaces, so that it will be more affordable for the user. Then we turn to the personality and the self concept of the not only the customer but also the brand. And the last one would be the lifestyle. That's been the way we can interact with the world. And by looking at the demographic environment, we can deeply understand the needs of each group, and then try to satisfy them. And moreover, the life-changing event need to be taken into the consideration as the people have to share their life with their partner when getting married. So more the stock will be the consumed. And a similar situation happen when the family welcome to a new baby. And remember, customers are more likely to relate to your brand if they recognize that there are the characteristic in your brand personality. For example, McDonald's presentation for the sincerity as they represent the family-friendly restaurant with fun and cheerful advertising that appeal to all ages, whereas the Gucci would appear as the sophisticated output and the excitement, and nothing and the North Face as the roughness, as the everything from the mountain in they born and daring the color help them to sculpt and the outdoor clothing brand that the customer feel they can rely on the outdoor adventure. And the last one, we'll talk about the psychological factor. Here we can see the motivation, perception, learning, and attitude. So it comes to the motivation of the buying. Here is the Sigmund first stated that the customer are the unconscious of what they buy, whereas the Abraham Maslow are think that the people need to arrange in the hierarchy that go from the physiological to safety, then social esteem and the self-actualization. The last one would be the learning factor. Company need to provide a strong brand, then a motivating key, and finally, it would be the positive reinforcement.
There are four types of buying decision behavior. Conflict buying behavior is the consumer buying behavior in situations characterized by high consumer involvement in a purchase and significant perceived differences among brands. The second one is dissonance reduction buying behavior. It occurs when consumers are highly involved in an expensive or risky purchase but little different among brands. The third one is habitual buying behavior, occurs under conditions of low consumer involvement and little significant brand difference. The consumers undertake variety-seeking buying behavior in situations characterized by low consumer involvement but significant perceived brand differences. Buying behavior varies greatly for different types of products. For example, someone buying a new car might undertake a full information gathering and a brand evaluation process, but on the other hand, for low involvement products, consumers may simply select a familiar brand out of habit. For example, let's take a table salt. Consumers have little involvement in this product, so they simply go to the store and reach for a brand. If they keep reaching for a same brand, this is out of habit rather than strong brand loyalty. Now that we have looked at the influences that affect buyers, we are ready to look at how consumers make buying decisions. The buyer decision process consists of 5 stages: need recognition, information search, evaluation of alternative, and the purchase decision and post-purchase behavior. It's clear that the buying process starts long before the actual purchase and continues long after. Marketers need to focus on the entire
buying process rather than on the purchase decision only. It suggests that consumers pass through all 5 stages with every purchase decision, but buyers may pass quickly or slowly through the buying decision process, and in more routine purchase, consumers often skip or revert some of the stages. Much depends on nature of the buyer and the product. And we now look at how buyers approach the purchase of a new product. A new product such as a good, service, or idea that is perceived by some potential consumers as new. It may have been around for a while, but our interest is in how consumers learn about products for the first time and make decisions on whether to adopt them. We define the adoption process as the mental process through which an individual passes from first learning about an innovation to final adoption. Adoption is a decision by an individual to become a regular user of the product. Consumers will go through 5 stages in the process of adopting a new product. The first one is awareness. The consumer becomes aware of the new product but lacks information about it. Interest is mean the consumer seeks for information about the new product. The third one is evaluations. The consumer will consider whether trying the new product makes sense. Trial means the consumer tries the new product on a small scale to improve his or her estimates of its value. Adoption is the consumer decides to make a full and regular use of that product. This model suggests that marketers should think about how to help consumers move through these stages. For example, if a company finds that many consumers are considering its products but are still tentative about buying one, it might offer a sale price or special promotions that help get that consumer over the decision hump. There are 5 characteristics which are especially important in influencing an innovation's rate of adoption. Relative advantage, compatibility, complexity, divisibility, and communicability. And there are some other characteristics influence the rate of adoption, such as initial and ongoing costs, risk and uncertainty, and social approval. The new product marketers must research all of these factors when developing a new product and its marketing program.
And next, we move to chapter 6, Business Markets and Business Buyer Behavior. There are 5 parts in this chapter. The first is Business Markets. The second is Business Buyer Behavior. The third is the Business Buyer Decision Process. The fourth is Engaging Business Buyer with Digital and Social Marketing. The last one is Institutional and Government Markets. Objective 1 will define the business market and explain how it differs from consumer markets. Buyer in business markets are fewer but larger. Even in large business markets, a few buyers often account for most of the purchasing. It's derived demand, which means it's made up of people who want to buy something. Price changes have little effect on an elastic demand for many commercial items in the long run. Book-to-A demand is a very picky demand because end consumer are pushy. So the more changes that an end consumer has in the needs and the supply, the more changes that a business consumer will have. When compared to consumer purchase, nature of buying unit involve more buyers in the decision process and more professional purchasing efforts. For decision process, have more complex buying decision. The buying process is more formalized. Buyers and sellers work more closely together and build long-term relationships. This figure shows a model of business buyer behavior. In this model, marketing and other stimuli affect the buying organization and produce certain buyer responses. When it's a strength rebuild, so I found a supplier and buy from them routinely without any modification. If I change supplier pricing terms or even features such as color or material, that is modified rebuild. A new text is a buying situation where I decide to produce a new product and I'm going to buy it for the first time. Example for system selling. A swimming pool also offers landscaping, filtration equipment, and pool chemicals. For buying center, for example, if a kid wants to buy new toys, many people are involved in the decision-making process. The child who displays new toys and persuades his or her parents to buy them is both user and influencer. The mother who approves the need for purchase is decider. Buyer is
parent who goes to my kingdom to buy toys, and the gatekeeper is my kingdom, which decides which brand's item to keep and offer to buyers. The figure on the screen proves environmental, organizational, interpersonal, and individual factors on business buyers.
And next, let's find out some things about the institutional market. It consists of schools, hospitals, nursing homes, prisons, and other institutions that provide goods and services to people in their care. Institutions differ from one another in this order and their objective. For example, community health systems runs 203 for-profit hospitals in 39 states, generating 18 billion in annual revenues. By contrast, the Shriners Hospital for Children is a non-profit organization with 21 facilities that provide free specialized health care for children. Next, we will discuss about the government market. Government market offers large opportunities for many companies, both big and small. In most countries, government organizations are major buyers of goods and services. In the United States alone, federal, state, and local government contain more than 89,000 buying units that purchase more than 3 trillion in goods and services each year. Government buying and business buying are similar in many ways, but there are also differences that must be understood by companies that wish to sell products and services to government. To succeed in the government market, sellers must locate key decision makers, identify the factors that affect buyer behavior, and understand the buying decisions process. Government organizations typically require suppliers to submit bids, and normally they award the contract to the lowest bidder. In some cases, a governmental unit will make allowances for the supplier's superior qualities of reputation for completing contracts on time. Government will also buy on a negotiated contract basis, primarily in the case of complex projects involving major R&D costs and risks, and in cases where there's a little competition. So now let's find out about G, a model for B2B digital and social media marketing. G stands for General Electrics. G Power is a world energy leader providing equipment, solutions, and services across the energy value chain from generations to consumption. G sells everything from jet aircraft engines, giant wind turbines, and diesel locomotive uh, to water processing systems and high-tech medical imaging equipment. She has a brand story to tell, a stories of big, bad machines and innovative technologies that are changing the world and how we live in it. And it sees digital as an ideal platform for sharing that story. As a result, GE has become a model for B2B use of digital and social media. Um, their content strategy is about uncovering and telling great story about innovations, technology, big data, developing healthcare, and so on. Uh, they want their customer, their shareholders, the employees to know what G thinks about their work, a task ideally suited to digital and social media. The goal is to make the GE's brand relevant, contemporary, and accessible. You will find G actively engaged for all the major social media. For example, G's numerous Pinterest, Tumblr, and Instagram sites introduce tech enthusiasts to the raw beauties of the company's innovative industrial product and technology.
Buying decisions usually go through the stages. Some buyers who make rebuys may skip some of the stages, and the business buyer decision process, in fact, is much more complicated than this diagram suggests. The first step of this process is problem recognition. This is also one of the most important ones, because if a company can't recognize what products or services its customer want or need, it will have a hard time making sales. In the second step, the buyer prepares a general need description that describes the characteristic and quantity of the needed item. Then in the third step, they need to provide a description or statement outlining key requirements for building a new feature, functionality, or product. In the fourth step, they conduct a supplier search to find the best vendors. Fifth, buyer invites qualified suppliers to submit proposals. 6. The buyer reviews proposals and selects a supplier or suppliers. 7th, the buyer writes the final order to the chosen suppliers, listing the technical specifications, quantity needed, expected time of delivery, return policies, and quarantines. And finally, the buyer assesses the performance of the suppliers and decides to continue, modify, or drop the arrangement. Online purchasing is often called e-procurement, has grown rapidly in recent years. Companies can do e-procurement in any of several ways, such as conducting reverse auctions, engaging in online trading exchanges, setting up their own companies, buying sites, or creating extranet links. The B2B digital and social media marketing is mean that using digital and social media marketing approaches to engage business customers and manage customer relationships anywhere and anytime. Maersk Line, the world's leading container shipping and transport company, is one of the most forward-looking and accomplished B2B digital and social media marketers in any industry. The company has succeeded in attracting a huge number of followers through many social media platforms with the goal to get closer to customers.